1 to the 0 to the 8. Testing 1, 2, 1 to the 0 to the 8. That is episode 108 of the A-League show. We glad that you tuning in. We glad that you watching us whenever you could be. Of course, recording on another Sunday morning with all of us here. Keem, Shad, Jeremy, Eric. How we doing, dudes?
You know what it is. You know what it is. It's Fromm Flex.
Hey, you up there in New York? You starting to sound like a real New Yorker now, huh?
It's getting real ugly right now.
From a native.
It's getting mad ugly, bro. Like it's getting real mad ugly, bro. But no, I am though. Shout out to New York though. Shout out to my people, my second family. How y'all doing?
If you guys wanna send a freestyle to Funk Flex, make sure you go on Facebook at Funk's Flex and send your bars up there. Send your 30-minute, 30-second freestyles to Funk Flex on Facebook's inbox. We gonna see if you have bars to come up here.
Exactly. What about your shot, and Jeremy?
Oh, I'm good. As you guys know, tested positive for COVID-19 this week. So I'm good. Other than that,
Sounds like a great week, Jeremy.
as if life couldn't get more complicated, I guess.
I can tell y'all, football players different because they just be saying, football players, y'all built different because us basketball players be dramatic as hell if we got COVID. Football players like, I got it, but it's cool, man. I'm here, right? I gotta put my helmet on. I gotta go to work. That's what it is. Let's play. Yeah, that's it.
Hand up. What it is.
Their football players different.
So how you been, man? Like what are the details for everybody, who still looks at COVID as kind of like a mystery? They still don't know like details of if you get it, what are the steps and everything.
That's the thing. It's like it's still a mystery. Like it's scary because when you go like after the test, I really didn't feel like I got information. Like I just felt like they were like, well, the scariest thing was hearing, hey, you're positive, and then when the doctor hands you your paper, they just said go home and let your body do what it's gonna do. Like that's the scariest thing you can ever hear. Is like basically I was like, there's nothing we can really do for you. It's just kind of up to your body to fight this however it's gonna fight it. So as of now, this has been, I think it's 3 days. This is my 4th day after my test. I don't have any symptoms right now. Just quarantined at home. And my wife, she lives here with me. So, just because I tested positive, now she has to quarantine as well. So, that's probably been the most difficult thing right now. It's just like being relegated to being at home because I've been out working this entire time. I somehow managed to not catch this throughout all that, and now I'm kind of trapped in my room. And so we're having to like communicate from another room, which is difficult, but it's it's just doing what you got to do. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely afraid. Like I wake up every day wondering like, is this a day I'm gonna get really sick? I've heard stories about people, having random heart attacks without having symptoms, and like that stuff worries me as well. So I'm constantly listening to my body to see what, if there's any twinge here or a peak there or a cough here, I wonder what's going on. So it's scary. It's probably more mentally daunting than it is physically at this point for me. So. Yeah,
especially because like you said, we don't know the answer. We don't have answers yet, so it's like you're just left up in the air. Exactly. And even so, like this is good for people to see. Like you went and stood in line, though. I think that's why I salute you for that, because it's like a lot of people are refusing to want to accept this, our reality. And you stood in line for what, 2-3 hours?
6 hours. I ended up having to sit in line for 6 hours. I got my test results back in 15 minutes, but I think I got in line at like 12:30. I didn't leave with my results until 6:45. So you can imagine sitting in a car that long with no bathroom. All I had, all I really could do was listen to podcasts and read. I mean, that's really all I had an opportunity to do for those 6 hours. I didn't get any food or anything. So, yeah, that was difficult. But, I mean, but I felt like it was my duty to make sure that I'm not like out here passing this around and and not knowing that I have it. Like, just think if I hadn't went and got tested and I'd gone to work or I'd gone to the store or I'd been just out living my life for the next 2 weeks, and I'm giving this away now. So yeah. It's definitely something that's still real, and I feel like people have kind of started to look at it as something that's just like that was last week's news. No. If anything, it's more dangerous now because we're not thinking about it. I saw in Athens this week they opened the bars Friday night. I tested positive Thursday. I was not the only person in that line. It took 6 hours because there were hundreds of people ahead of me. So, like, if half of those people tested positive, how many people have they come in contact with? Like this outbreak it's still festering and nobody's really talking about it, rightfully so. Like, there's other things that are going on, but like I don't feel like we need to swing the thing one way or the other from like both of these topics. Both this deserves a little attention as well, just because it's still going on. And people's lives are in danger. And yeah.
I mean, you talk about all lives matter. This is the perfect all lives matter thing.
Mm-hmm. You're so right about that. You're right about that, because I think that like you said, it's something where both topics, as you said, Jeremy, are certainly deserving of their fair share of attention. Absolutely. I think it's it's sort of one of those things where I think some people I think it's become one of those things where people think like, oh, this has been out there for 2 months. And I won't say that people have sort of gotten bored to hear about the virus, but I do believe that I think that some people are kind of, looking at, the little bit of information that there is out there about it. And I think that they're starting to kind of let their guards down a little bit of it. And they're starting to think like, okay, like we know enough about this, about this, so people think, okay, they're just starting to take it lightly, when really and truly, like you said, there's just still so much that we don't know, and it's still out there. Like in some states, like there are some states that have, done pretty well with it. I mean, Washington State, California, New York State, but there are other states, especially in the Southeast and in the Midwest, that they're just now starting to see their cases rise. And the thing is, they're starting to see their cases rise in rural areas. So it's not necessarily like, the Atlantas or, the Indianapolises or the Chicagos or the Detroits or the Louisvilles. It's one of those things where it's starting to rise in, places that typically we don't necessarily think about because they're not population centers.
What do y'all think of Trey Young playing basketball in a packed gym this week?
I'm laughing because I know it bothered the hell out of you. See your boy Trey.
Excuse me. Yeah. Second year in the league, you started in the All-Star game. You started in an All-Star game. Like you're not just a franchise player for a lottery team. You're one of the players that everybody, LeBron said it best after he played Zion. I forgot his name. He said the league is in great hands with Luka, Trey, Zion, and I think he said somebody else. John Morant. So those are like the four guys. Like you're one of the four guys, the cornerstones of the league moving forward. You can't afford to do that, man. You can't. I mean, even if you didn't catch anything or something like that, like it's just not a good look. You know what I'm saying? It's just not a good look for Trey, in my opinion. And the Hawks, like, because you're not just a all-star. You're a cornerstone. One of the four, players they're talking about are the future of the league, the next generation.
This was in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah. He was out there for a protest, and he played afterwards, and I guess, but I don't know. It's like Rashad said, it's not a good look, and being in my situation, I definitely was afraid for him and like all those people there. I'm just like, I was in a crowd smaller than that, and I caught this. So, how are we sure that these people are safe? I mean, yeah, like I don't know. It's just a bad look, and it scares me because obviously I want sports to happen eventually. We all do. We're all sports journalists. That's how we make our living. But I would almost rather us ease into this so that we don't have it taken away in mid stride when it's time for it to come back. Because I feel like doing this the wrong way and having this attitude that we currently have about this puts us in danger of starting a football season and not being able to finish, or starting an NBA season next year and not being able to finish because of actions being taken today. And it's scary because like I saw photos of downtown Athens and literally less than a week after I contracted this and nobody has a mask. People are not socially distanced. They're all packed into this bar, and it's like, the whole thing behind this was like, okay, we're going to do this, but we're going to ease into it, and people are going to be socially distanced in these bars. That's all lip service because that's not what's actually happening. We went from 0 to 100 just because it opened, and it's like this idea of, okay, let's give it an extra week. What are we waiting on? Okay, if we're going to just go right into it, what are we waiting on? Like, what's being changed? Like, are we waiting on a cure? Are we waiting on a vaccine? Like, what's happening for us to be holding off like this just to go right into it as if nothing had changed?
I think that's really what's happening. That's what's happening. A lot of these, it's one of those things where I feel like that what's really driving a lot of this, and including the return of sports, which we're about to get to in a little bit, because the NBA, announced their plans to return at the Disney Wide World of Sports complex. But I do think that a lot of what is, in fact, it's obvious what's going on here is, a lot of these businesses that are trying to open up, they're looking at the bottom line and they're looking at it like, okay, we're losing money, time to reopen. And I think that a lot of what's also happening in a lot of states is that a lot of places are really underestimating the risk that is still out there. And Shad, that's a great point that you made about Trey. I mean, because like you said, when you look at, one of the fact that, he's going to be one of the faces going forward, for the NBA, that's one of those things where, if I'm the Hawks, I'm like, wait a minute, like what's really going on here? Like that's just something, like you said, it's just not a good look and has to be, definitely has to be concerning. But, I'm actually kind of monitoring that situation as well to just make sure that, to just see if there was like any, hopefully there won't be no positive test that came out of it, but, just really monitoring that situation to see if there was any positive tests coming out of that. But
the Hawks wouldn't publicize it if he did test positive. There's no way that's coming out. There's no way in the blue earth that's coming out if he tests positive.
Yeah, that ain't happening. Not at all.
Right.
We're going to protect as much as possible because, I mean, first of all, looking at it, there's so many other NBA guys who have like really who have constantly updated like their fans and have shown like they've been really like they've stuck to, they've isolated, they followed parameters. Like, I mean, yes, clearly there's been some, like a few that you maybe see that they're working out in gyms with their trainers. You know what I mean? Like that's usually it to the extent. But like Trey was the first one I seen, and I'm sure you guys, that was like clearly in a crowd of like more than 100 people. It looked like, I don't know how many people, but it was like
Darius Baisley was also there from OKC.
Darius Baisley, okay,
yeah, he's
playing Thunder, right?
Yeah, but he's not one of the four cornerstones of the. And then OKC season isn't over. They're going to Disney World. So if I'm OKC, I'm like, yo.
That's probably Trey's excuse too. Is like, the season's over. I don't really care. You know what I mean? Like, which is just so still flagrant and wild. But yeah, it's still, you have a responsibility. So I agree with Shad on this one. It was pretty. I just thought that was old footage. I thought people were like, yo, this is from like 2 years ago before. Nah. You know what I mean? I was like, nah, that's not yesterday. And somebody said it was yesterday. I said, what? He was hooping yesterday. He put 50 on yesterday? I was like, Trey. So yeah, and it's funny as a Hawks fan. This is the first time we ever have to actually watch one of our stars, bro. Like this is still new for us to get used to. We have a star athlete that everybody has eyes on, so it's like it's kind of weird, but yeah.
And the only thing about it though is that the Hawks aren't one of those teams that's actually going to Disney World. Like their season is over based on what they, what they announced.
Yes. How do we? And speaking of that, how do we feel about the announcement, fellas? Are we excited? Are we? The NBA is coming back. How do we feel?
Well, after Jeremy's test, like the whole thing, I'm kind of like I take it. I hate to say it, but I just like I still take it more seriously. Like that was a reinforcement of like, yo, this hits really close to home. Someone like that's really close to me has it. So it's like this is still a thing. So for me, I would like I would like there be kind of like the everybody to get there 2 weeks early ahead of the preseason, which is like maybe next week. Will be 2 weeks from July 2nd, the preseason. I would like everybody to get there 2 weeks early and quarantine. Like everybody gets a room in Orlando. You quarantine for 2 weeks, and then you guys come together again at the beginning of July. And then, do it like that. And then at the end of the season, after the championship or after you get eliminated, you quarantine in your own hotel room another 2 weeks. And then you go home to your families. I would like to see that.
I think that's cool what you say that because college football is doing that very thing. A lot of guys are moving back to their cities, their college towns, where there's nobody on campus right now. So, these teams and these like the major teams for sure, like Notre Dame, Georgia, Tennessee, like they're able to get their guys on campus and test them as they come in the door, but then also kind of say, okay, and you guys just go to your room for 2 weeks and see how you feel. And then we'll come together as a team. And then I've seen some places where they're bringing them in by groups. I think Kentucky brought in 50 guys, I want to say at the beginning of this last week, set them up, tested them, quarantined them in a room by themselves, and then tested them and screened them throughout the week. And now they're bringing in another group next week. So, like, I agree with you, Rashad. I really think that's the best way to do this. It's like you don't want to just throw all these guys back together. It's worked for NASCAR so far. NASCAR went about it like this as well, and I think seeing how NASCAR is handled it has desensitized people to how you can actually do this because NASCAR is not playing with the same ball. They're not passing the ball to each other, bumping into each other. Like NASCAR drivers can literally come in and not see their team until they get in the car and race, never touch their competitor and leave and never touch anybody. So that's why it's worked for them. But yeah, I agree with you, Rashad. That's a great idea.
It also helps in terms of NASCAR that the venues for NASCAR are a lot bigger than an enclosed NBA arena, or an enclosed NBA court. So it's a lot closer, and it's one of those things where in the NBA and basketball, there's no way people are staying 6 feet away from each other. I mean, there's just a lot of contact, and especially after the news that that you dropped, Jeremy, it definitely is one of those things that certainly, like you just said, Shad, it hit close to home because just thinking about that, because I think that we've sort of forgotten about it, that it's still out there. But that's a great point, Shad, you made about about the 2 week quarantine bit. Was also something that I had that I was also thinking about was all these leagues that are thinking about returning are specifically, looks like they're zeroing in on the state of Florida. But if I remember correctly, it looked like and the reason for that is because their governor, Ron DeSantis, has deemed sports essential. Like that's why WWE has pretty much held all of their events at their performance center in Orlando. That's why AEW Wrestling has been able to hold all of its events in Jacksonville. So it's Florida has kind of become somewhat of the sports, the quarantine sports capital of the United States for the time being. I mean, the NBA is thinking about their WNBA is also thinking about going to the IMG Academy, also in Bradenton, Florida. So Florida has been thinking a lot about this, and they're really trying to become like this, this sports bubble of the country. But the thing is, cases from what I read are still rising in Florida. So that's the thing that still has me somewhat concerned, and that's why it goes back to what you said earlier, Shot, about about the whole thing about the two-week quarantine. Because I feel like that it's really one of those things where you have to look out for for the safety of the players and for the safety of everybody involved. So I think that they're gonna but then again, this is the NBA we're talking about. Like, you think that they're gonna they've got the money to be able to put these protocols in place, but the only thing that really, or one of the things that kind of also concerns me about this is, if you're going to test NBA players on the regularly, that's tests that won't be going to others that won't necessarily need it or may need it even more so. That's been something that lots of people have really tried to key in on, but it's it is a pretty interesting effort that all these sports have made. At the very least, they've made efforts to try and return, like NASCAR, like the NBA. I mean, golf's even thinking about returning, but golf and tennis are probably two of the easiest sports to return because those are socially distant sports to begin with. Yeah. But one sport that has not is probably not close to returning, Major League Baseball, because baseball is in a squabble with the players union over money. And I can sort of understand where their players union is looking at it from a standpoint of, oh, we want our money and we're playing in unsafe conditions. But it's one of those things where it's just such a contrast between how the NBA is really making going all out trying to return, and yet you have Major League Baseball that is either thinking about not returning at all, but with how apart they are from their union, or they're just going to use replacement players. So it's just amazing how just how the NBA is really making at least they're trying to get back on the court, because the way things are going in baseball, I don't think there's going to be a 2020 baseball season, or one that you could legit call a season.
Yeah, I think even with the NBA, it's like the TV contracts have like dictated so much of it that it's like not even really we know where it's coming from, where the motivation to bring it back is that they have an obligation with the TV companies, like they have to at least play 70 games or whatnot. So like there's a clear like money incentive, which for all the sports are, but especially for NBA, that's a big chunk, right? Like NBA can't front, like they can't avoid what those TV contracts do for them when it comes to salaries and all these different kind of things. So it's important for them to bring it back. So that is that end of the case. But at the same time, like, to be honest, when they announced it, like, we have heard about it for a couple of weeks now that they were going to bring it back and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I don't know, to be personal about it, like I had already like not like got it out of my mind, removed it. Like I wasn't excited, wasn't really hype about it, didn't care, because for a couple months now, it's just been like, I've strictly told myself like, yo, it's definitely NBA if it comes back. If it does, I was expecting it not to come back. But I just didn't care. Like, the severity of it was like, bro, it's like, this is like bigger than sports or whatever. That's literally what it was for me. Like, I still can't get excited about it for some reason. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't rank as high on my list of like importancy of things, because it's just not. We're getting like a modified NBA season at that. They'll be playing on the Disney resort. Like, they're trying to use like what NBA 2K like sound to pump in to like make it feel like a real game. Like, there's so many also parts of it that just seem complete corny to me and like just a waste of time, that I'm really not that much thrilled about it, just because this is actually a pandemic that people are trying to live through. And it's like, we also saw the differences, like Keem said it, but it's like, bro, within the first week when it happened with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, when that started, bro, they got testing done within like a span of a day. Like, so as a U.S. citizen, it's like, bro, this is like classism at its best. Most people can't even get that testing at that time. Like, they didn't have it handy where it was like reachable for people. But you have NBA players and like of that sort that got it so quickly, which, yeah, to no surprise, but it's still like, all it does is just kind of remind you of that, of like, all right, we live in totally two different lives, clearly. But this is still at the same point, this is a pandemic. People are dying from it. So I can't, when that happens, like the follow through, like the the reaction to me is just like, bro, I'm gonna shift my mind to what clearly does matter. Obviously, this is our livelihood. Sports keep us going, but it's like I can't. It's just at the end of the day, it's a sport, bro. Like I can't even like get myself hyped up about it. So it's been weird this whole week because obviously, there's so much other stuff going on that our minds are in like several different pockets right now. But for this, I was like, they were gonna do this regardless. Like they were pushing for this for hard silver. The MVP, like it was a full, like players did not want to lose the season, so they weren't gonna let this die. LeBron James tweeted that like weeks ago, like or maybe last month. He was like, "Yo, we're gonna have an NBA season." I don't know what this person's talking about, but he was like quoting. He responded to somebody like, "We're gonna do it." LeBron says that. Chris Paul says that. It's gonna happen. So this is no surprise, but how modified it is isn't a surprise either. This is what they have to do. They have to save money. So yeah, I'm not shocked at all. But at the same time, it's just like I don't know what it is. I can't get excited about it. Can't get for some reason. Just can't. It's weird. As much as I love basketball, I can't. I don't know why. But maybe when the game starts, maybe. But right now, it's like we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm with you, Eric. Like it's like, there's so much other stuff going on that's honestly just had our attention. Like it's just that's the first part. I wasn't excited either. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. The NBA's back, yay. I kind of got hit for a second. I was like, okay, well, that's still a month away. I'm still not even sure it's going to happen. Like that's a month away. So much can change in a month. So then on the second hand, it's like, okay, they do start playing. They play 8 games and they play the playoffs. What does this really mean? Like, we're talking about the continuation of a season that's basically been over for months now. Yeah. So just for sports conversation's sake, winning a championship, what does that mean? Like the whole purpose of winning a championship is that you get to share it with your city. How is your city going to celebrate a championship that's won in Orlando? Like, say if LeBron wins a championship, that'll be another asterisk that people can just put on his legacy. Or say Giannis and Milwaukee win, and then okay, it was a short season, blah 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 blah. Okay, say if some team gets hot, say if the Utah Jazz get hot and they rally and they win a championship. Okay, well it was a short. So at this point, it's almost like if I'm an NBA player, like is it really worth playing? I'm not going to get anything for winning. I don't get to feel the excitement of being in my city and celebrating with my city. I can't go to a parade to have the celebration trophy. I'm not going to do it on my home court that I played 60 games to earn. It just doesn't feel like an NBA playoffs. Like it just feels like a AAU tournament. And it's for the sake of TV money. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not like that money won't be there when this is cured or when we can actually do this in a safe way. If somebody I heard once somebody said, if you can't do something in a normal way, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. Like all of this is done. It's like, you're doing all these modifications and changing the venues and all this stuff. And it's like, it's all to avoid this pandemic. So why, if you have to do all this, why even bother? I mean, sports are important, but I enjoy being able to turn on and watch NASCAR. Like that's good enough for me. I don't need NBA players to put their lives in danger. It's our livelihood, but I don't need football players to do that. Like I don't have to have that. That's fine. And it's hard to get excited about a season with everything going on. So yeah, that's just me as an observer of the sport. So
it feels like a lockout season, and that it's like when the Spurs won it in '99. And then 2011, we had the lockout. Like it's just a weird. It just feels like there's so many factors. There's like momentum that was halted. Like bro, a whole NBA season is played. It's totally different. We know how sports go. Like you need an entirety of the season to really get a full picture and like a full representation of like what actually happened this season. A rightful champion. Like to make, because the NBA, one thing about basketball is fair. Like you get 7 games to win a series. You get, what I mean? Like it's the better team for the most part always wins. Injury aside, but it's like usually the better team wins. You have plenty of chances. But this is like, there's gonna be, bro. These players are gonna come back. It's gonna be trash. Like there's gonna be so many guys that have to get back in rhythm, bro. Like, it's going to be so many trash, like, just, it's going to be ugly to watch him again, I'm sure,
Hey,
for a little
Trey
bit.
scored 43 this week. Trey scored 43.
Yeah.
Trey scored 43 this week.
He's going 43 this week?
Yeah. Man, first game back on the court, scored 43.
He was ready, though. He was sharp. Yeah, he was sharp. I don't know about the rest of these dudes. When they get back on the floor, I'm not
It's
sure,
injury.
bro. I'm not sure. It's going to be ugly. Yeah, so.
What role does injury play in all this, though? Like, you got guys who've been at home for 3 months. Like, I know some of them got gyms and stuff they can work out in, but
Some of them got gyms.
Who's really been, like, intense workout, like it's been like it was like there would be a coach preparing. Like, who's actually been doing that? So you can't just come back in a week and just turn it on. That's how you get hurt. I mean, I don't know if anybody's, like, ever sat around for a long time and then just all of a sudden started doing something again and
you pull your hamstring the first rebound you go up for. If you ain't play basketball in 3 weeks, the first rebound you get, you're gonna pull your hamstring.
You gotta ease into this. I mean, I was playing flag football a couple years ago. I hadn't played flag football in years. This was while I was in college. I came home to Athens and I found out a game was going on. And I went out there and played for a little while. I was doing good. And then all of a sudden I popped my calf muscle. And played. So
look at that. Oh, and play like a football. I'm sure y'all kept. That's what proved my point. No, but it's real. You like Steph said. I think Steph said a joke too. He was like, people, everybody's lying about working out with their trainers right now. Most of these NBA guys have been fronting, acting like they training. A lot of them haven't, because half of them don't really be training that's hard during the regular season.
Yeah, that was that's just it's just been a lot to a lot to digest and everything as far as with the return. I'm like I was saying earlier, it's definitely one of those things where I'm sort of excited, but at the same time I just can't get completely excited of it, because I feel like it's just thinking about it, it's just going to be a lot of asterisks, a lot of questions. And, it's really one of those things that just makes it think like, because this was something that I was mentioning baseball earlier, like baseball was, trying to put all these, protocols in place, like, no mascots, no shaking of hands and things like that. And I just feel like, just thinking about the baseball example that, of course, everything's, going completely kaput, obviously, with baseball, and the way Rob Manfred and Tony Clark have tried to handle their mess. I just look at it like, if it's something that you have to do so much to try and save a season that a lot of fans and a lot of onlookers aren't even going to even look at as legitimate, then it really makes it look like it just makes it look like, is it really worth it?
So I have a couple rebuttals. My first rebuttal would be, I don't know if the asterisk would necessarily kind of, maybe, I think it depends on who wins. So like what Jeremy said, like if Utah gets hot, no one's going to take that seriously. But if the Lakers won, people are going to add that to LeBron's legacy. Like no one takes away from 2011, the Mavs. No one takes away from the Spurs and what was that, 98, 99. So it's just, it depends on who wins. And I don't think there's going to be an asterisk next to it if it's one of those teams that people expected to win all season long and stuff like that. And then what was my other point? We were talking about, yeah. Could you imagine like Game 7 of the NBA Finals just being in an empty gym? Just like, skit, 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 skit. Like that's Game 7 of the NBA Finals. And it's like dudes like yelling, like, yeah! Like at each other. Like it would be so awkward.
You got Mike Breen yelling bang. And it's like he's the only one in the arena.
His like bang is gonna echo. It's gonna be like
everywhere. Bro.
The players are gonna hear everything they say. Like if Jeff Van Gundy's like, what is he doing? He's stupid. Like J.R. Smith, like J.R. Smith is stupid. Like, and then you gotta hear that and just play through it. That's
Mark Jackson definitely got to watch his mouth because Mark Jackson. We've seen.
What happens if KG yells, "Anything is possible"?
Nobody's there, bro.
But they needed the TNT crew. What did they had the TNT crew, man? Because them jokers don't hold back. They said, Joel and B.
You know what I wish the most? Man. I wish that the Warriors were in it so that Charles Barkley was actually like he was doing a full on analysis and Draymond could hear him.
Yeah. I need Trouble check to call a game with the Warriors playing in the empty gym. He said, "Oh, Draymond gonna put up a triple single. You working on that triple single, ain't you?"
That's real. We need that. That's the NBA we need. I'm trying to get this thing crazy. I want it to be real shady.
No, I need Shaq. Yeah, Shaq's got to talk about Embiid every play. I thought you elite big man, huh? You supposed to be the next one, huh?
Left hook, right hook. Left hook, right hook.
While he's running down the floor. I actually need the commentators, the guys who tell the jokes and who are sitting in the studio. I need them to call the games in the empty gym, just to rile up those players. So
I'm ready. I'm with
it. Someone to look at when he makes a basket. So Jokic has someone to look at. Did Minnesota make? No, Minnesota didn't make it.
No.
Because that would be another one of those players that I love to see them just rip him during the game, and he has to.
They go at Cat hard, bro. I love Ben Simmons, bro. Ben Simmons gonna get it.
Oh, you know what I mean?
Definitely. He always does.
I need Shaq for Ben Simmons to get the ball. Shoot it, Ben. Why won't you shoot it? I need it. This becomes more fun the more I talk about it.
How do you guys feel about mic'd players?
No.
I mean,
feel about what?
Mike and
how do you guys feel about having players mic'd? I know the NFL. I want to say Deshaun Jackson came out this week and said that if the NFL is not going to have fans, they need to mic all their players. Well, the NBA could do the same thing.
Them dudes talk so
I'd love to hear that,
bro.
I want that.
It's kind of like inhumane, bro. I don't want fans. I don't want 8-year-old kids to know like what LeBron and them really be saying on the when he blocked Steph and the camera zoomed in on him. He don't know what he said. Like what he said was probably not good for society.
I wish not good. I wish I could say it right now because I know what he said.
I asked that because NBA players are more brand driven because you can see them, and NFL players, some of the stuff you hear in the shuffle at an NFL game, you kind of you don't really look at that person's face and think about it that way. And can you imagine LeBron James saying some of the stuff we know he says? But saying it in the Game 7 of the NBA Finals, what that dude would do for his brand?
The shop has already been for me dang, LeBron cusses this much.
They all cuss. They all cuss. Right. I mean, we all humans in the end. They all cuss.
They're guarded though. Like Jeremy said, they are guarded. NBA players are gonna be real mainly the stars though. But some of these dudes. Once the game starts to get heated, I think most of them be like, they don't care. It's playoff time. I think some of them be like, they don't. Because people think I love Chris Paul. That man is all about church and all that. That boy be cussing, boy. Chris Paul is a different dude on the court. So
Chris Paul's a demon, bro.
Yeah.
Talk about demon time. Chris Paul be on demon time on the court, bro.
You know what I'm saying? He don't care, bro. Winston-Salem, bro. That's a different church boy. Is different than Chris Paul on the court, boy. So yeah, I think. They gonna forget. I think once the game starts and it gets competitive, I think a lot of them will forget and be like, "I'm just gonna, I gotta be this. This is who I am, bro." Because they've been talking trash since they can remember, since they're high.
Can you imagine them talking to Dwight Howard on the court? Can you imagine what people say to Dwight?
Yeah. People got heat ready for Dwight.
In the huddle. Remember Draymond says the KD in the huddle. Now think about that. Yeah. That's just normal in a huddle.
Man, we needed that. I still wish we could have got that audio, man. We need what Draymond said. Well, we know what they reported, but I want to hear it.
No, I think there is a clip of him yelling at him.
Really?
No. I don't want to make it up, but I don't know if it's because I heard the story so many times, but I think there's a clip of you can see him yelling at KD in the huddle. and then them walking out the huddle kind of like looking separate ways.
Listen, at the end of the bro, we love NBA. It's reality TV. They might as well. They want to do mic it up, because we already have enough drama. Like, come on, come on, bro. We've covered this league. Like, it's drama like out the wazoo. So
I don't need the someone to block a shot and then someone say, you know, in the. I'm trying to think of a thing to say.
I know what you want to say.
Hot dog in the bun, looking boy.
Yeah.
And you know they're going to do that, though. You absolutely know, because all of this is being done for TV, obviously. So, and on top of everything else, ESPN is because they're going to end up, having games on ESPN. ESPN knows that a big part of the reason for why The Last Dance was such a success, because the ESPN feed of it was the unedited feed. It was the dirty feed. So they're going to have these players mic'd up. And if they slip, I think they actually want that, because that's what's going on here.
ESPN.
So they're going to have these players mic'd.
I can see it coming now. There'll be a channel just for that. ESPN Uncut.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Obama got drafted and he worked out with Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid was like fouling him on purpose and he dunked on him.
He was like,
welcome to the in league.
ESPN.
Welcome to the league.
Hilarious, dude. I want to see that, but it could get really raw, man.
Yeah.
But I feel like we want that. I feel like as onlookers, I feel like we know so much about these players up to this point where we know what they say. We know what happens, because it happens in all sports. It happens in NBA, it happens in college, it even happens in high school. So we know what these players be saying, and that's something that they just can't filter out at this point. So if it happens, it happens. But yeah, it looks like basketball's coming back. But at the same time, lots of people, like you said, they're still it's one of those things where we're still we're kind of distracted, and I'm kind of wondering exactly even how much how many people are even going to really pay attention to that, because we're still dealing with a lot of social issues, obviously. And there were even a lot of notable football players that weighed in on the protests that are happening all over the country, and have really weighed in, and including a couple of people that that kind of put their feet in their mouth. So one of them was Drew Brees. And they're especially around Atlanta, it's one of those things where lots of people have some things to say about him, just of the fact that he's wearing a New Orleans Saints uniform. He said some stuff talking about not disrespecting the flag and everything, and then he sort of walked back those comments, and he even tweeted at 45 to try make up for that. But he said some stuff. Jake Fromm even said some stuff, which definitely, Jeremy, I'm pretty sure got your attention, because saw Jake Fromm up close and personal, being in Georgia. So just wanted to, see what everybody, just what everybody thought about, just some of these, some of these football players out there, just kind of putting just sort of, throwing their 2 cents out there, and even put their feet in their mouth.
Listen, Drew Brees, Drew Brees threw 2 pick sixes this weekend, bro. All right, he threw 2 of them things. Because I swear to you, I couldn't stop laughing when I saw the first time, and I thought the outrage of it was one thing. I saw the video, and at first I was like, why the hell is he talking to Yahoo Finance, first of all? And then, what is this about? All right, so I saw the question. It's like, all right, that's the context of it. He went completely left. We already know what he said. All right, fair enough. And there was literally no he had no thought. It didn't matter what the question was for Drew. It felt like he just wanted to get that off. You feel me? He just wanted to say it. He didn't. The question was one thing. He went completely left because he just wanted to say that I'm full on American. Da da da. That felt real personal for him to make a statement. That's why I feel like all this apology stuff is whatever, blah blah blah. But like that felt real, like he had an intention to double down on what he said a couple years ago about the flag and Colin and all that kind of thing. So cool. Drew said what he said. Now, stepping back from it, all right. The thing about Drew Brees is he's never. I think a lot of people were shocked because he's never been actually like hated, or even not even hated, but he's never been ridiculed or like criticized outside of the football realm before until now. And that's because, bro, when most people introduced to Drew Brees was when Hurricane Katrina and the New Orleans Saints that season, right? Before that, a lot of the country really didn't know Drew Brees, like the national. Yeah, NFL circles, people knew who follow football, somewhat of it, but like that was his like introduction. So all people knew about him is like, oh, he does so well for the New Orleans community. He's just like charitable guy. He's not like Tom Brady. He's not like, all these other guys. Like he's always underrated. He's like the little guy who's just always trying to fight hard, and like he's undersized and he still makes it happen. He's amazing, blah, blah, blah. All those things, great. He comes from a background, Texas. He wasn't like the biggest recruit. All these things with Drew. So it made people kind of like shape who they thought he was. And then he keeps showing himself time and time again, and everybody's shocked. And it's like the brother had a picture with Trump, and everybody, when that came out, people were like, "Oh, why is he sitting with Trump in the suite at the college football championship?" That doesn't make sense because he was riding for New Orleans after Katrina. He did all these things. Why does it, bro? It's two different things. I don't know why we can't understand. Like, I know there's like this hard pressed idea that football fans have of like the white quarterback and all that, bro. If we see anything this weekend, it's not what you think it is, bro. All right, it's not like there's no perfection here. There's no like clean cut. This is who they are, bro. They're all fault. Like they're all at some fault. They all have some type of. We know what Brady with the hat in the locker room. They all are like at the end of the day, they're political just as much as you think they are. Like people are so shocked when white quarterbacks show themselves. It's like, bro, they're all political too. If they're Republican, they're Republican. I'm not. None of that shit shocks me. So with Brees this weekend, I was like sitting back watching it, and then Fromm followed up, said what he said. We can get to that. I can't wait to hear what Jeremy says about the boy Fromm. But Brees, in that way, I was just like, wow, okay. So he really wanted to make a statement this weekend. He seemed real angry about the protest and everything that's going on. He just wanted to double down and say what he said. Cool. All right. Now the apology's coming for him. He said now he's learning. Now he wants to learn. Do you guys understand that Drew Brees is 40 years old? 40 years old, okay? He's not Jay Fromm. He's not just entering the league. He is a 40-year-old man. This dude has been in locker rooms with black players his entire career, bro. And he's just not realizing as he's going out the door, all right, because he has how much more left in his tank, I don't know. But he's realizing I only got this much time left. I'm looking real bad right now. A lot of people are mad at me. I got to make sure I look right before I check out because I only have a couple more seasons left in me and I'm out of here. I don't want to end like this. So he's covering himself too, but he's also showing himself, bro. You had a lot of time to work on this. Alvin Kamara gave you a beautiful thread that I really appreciated from him about his experience as a black man, especially as an African immigrant son growing up in Atlanta. He's sitting right next to your locker room, bro. He's in your locker room with you, all right? And then you do what you said, and it's like, doesn't match up. So clearly you haven't put in the work. Drew Brees, you threw 2 pick-sixes this weekend, bro. You're trash, okay?
Jameis Winston took a W this week. I'll let you get your.
Yo, don't do that. Don't. That's a W. Go ahead.
I agree with everything you said on Drew, man. Yes. I think a lot of the stuff he's done for New Orleans has people kind of shaded some of the stuff that he has done. That he shaded some of the stuff of who he is. He grew up a hardcore Republican from Texas. His mother is an attorney. I believe his dad's a district attorney. I'm not sure of that, but they've been really well off. He's been in a really respected family, military background, government background. He's a tennis player growing up. This is who I know who Drew Brees was growing up. He went to Purdue. Purdue's not an easy school to get into. So, that being as it may, we gave him a pass because he went to New Orleans and helped rebuild New Orleans. You can be a nice person and not understand someone's plight. I don't think Drew Brees is a bad person. I don't think he's a racist. He does have a lack of understanding, and it's on him for his ignorance. He's 40 years old. He has had plenty of time to get to know these people. Also, the fact that he said this at this time was so tone deaf that it's almost impossible to believe that someone this intelligent with this much experience at this age can still think this and still be this tone deaf. First of all, if they had flat out asked him this question, and if he thought that way, he should have just said, this is not the appropriate time to even discuss this. He could have said that for later or said that at home, first of all. Second of all, the context of the question is like, think about it. Just be a smart person and say, well, that's not what these people are talking about right now. That's not what they're out there getting pepper sprayed about. They're not talking about the flag. They're talking about the fact that unarmed black men keep getting killed. That's it. That's the discussion. Where does the flag enter that discussion? We're talking about something that happened 4 years ago with Colin Kaepernick. That had nothing to do with the current conversation that should be being had right now. So, like you said, two pick sixes. If anything, it's like he threw a pick six, then he got scored on because he played on defense. Then he missed a field goal to tie the game, and then he blocked the punt for his own team. So these guys in his locker room, if anything, he should have thought about self-preservation because as well as I know, that the sport of football is a team sport. Drew Brees is one of those players that's not physically talented enough to just outman a defense by himself. So he has Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Tarn Armstead, all those black guys that help him on Sunday. If I were him, I would feel really unsafe as the quarterback. You got to have black people to block for you. You got to have people to catch your passes. So I would want to get to know those guys, you would think, as a leader of a franchise. But he hadn't done that. So, I don't know. That's disappointing. It's disappointing to hear. And, yeah. And I really wasn't upset when I heard it. It was just I kind of knew who this was. And I didn't understand. I just didn't understand why he felt that he needed to say that.
Quick message to Drew Brees from me. Save the white tears. Save the white tears. I don't care. I don't care. Save it. Leave the little Instagram video. I've changed. I've grown as a person over the last. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care.
2 days.
Cry me a river. Cry me a river. Because you literally said the exact same thing in 2016. As E said, Alvin Kamara dropped the thread. However, that was this week. Alvin Kamara, the first year that Cap was blacklisted, wore a Cap jersey and a hat that said, move back to Africa or something like that. Let's make Africa great again. The exact first year that Cap, he's been talking about this. Alvin Kamara didn't just pop up with this Twitter thread in your locker room. You heard everybody said what they had to say in your locker room. I don't, if you don't get it by now, you just don't get it. And it's not everybody killed you for it. How could he dare say this again? The same thing. Like we talked about last episode. Like E said, E put it best. If you don't get it by now, I don't care. It is not my job. It is not my job to educate you on a black experience. It is not my job for us to go back and forth. We are grieving right now. We're fighting our own fight, and we don't have time to stop and explain to you and catch you up so you can get on our boat. You had a chance to. Trayvon Martin died 8 years ago. You've had 8 years. I don't care. Save the white tears, the white guilt. I don't care. I don't care. Stop it. Be who you are. Say what you feel. That's right. That's cool. Stay there. We don't need you. I'm sorry. We don't need you, Drew Brees. You said what you said. we're going to keep it pushing. We're going to fight this fight regardless because it's our fight. It's not your fight anyway. Any white allies that want to help us, that want to speak up against this and, excuse me, say this needs to stop, my black brothers and sisters that I love so much, Matt Ryan, that's cool. If not, that's cool too because it's not your fight. This is our fight. So we're going to do this with or without you. That's it. Go ahead, King.
And
Honestly, the apology was an insult to injury for me. So he could have just kept that to himself. Sorry, King, but yeah.
No, that's okay. You good. That's a good point though. That's a good point though, E, that you made about, how, Drew Brees, really made himself, sound oh so ignorant because, who I feel like that it's a great point you made about how I feel like Drew Brees has been somewhat shielded from all this criticism because he was so instrumental in, rebuilding New Orleans after Katrina. But the thing that people, don't understand, or maybe he should understand, is that he's had a lot of time to do this because it's New Orleans. I mean, last time I checked, lots of black people live in the New Orleans area. I mean, pre-Katrina, even though a lot of them left and they went to Houston and Atlanta and other places after Katrina, I mean, that's still one of the biggest black cities in the entire country, New Orleans. So he has had this time to educate himself on these issues and to become, very, very, very informed on these issues. Exactly. And the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, people, think like, this is supposed to be Drew Brees, you think that he's, a lot more intelligent, but in all honesty and truth, it's, as far as I'm concerned, Drew Brees did something that really made himself sound like or look like this guy.
Hey, Tim Tebow, he took the knee that I liked. And when you want to take a knee, you take a knee like Tebow.
But the thing is, I bring Tebow up for a reason because we saw even over the course of his short-lived NFL career, like Tim Tebow is the poster child when you talk about some of these white quarterbacks that end up not necessarily having these great careers, but it's like they're propped up because they're this good Christian guy and they're propped up because of their brand and things like that. And we talked about this on previous episodes where I've always felt like, just like it's, one of those things where, people prop up Drew Brees for stuff. I feel like, the part of the reason as to why I bring them up is because, a lot of these dudes that be out here, like, let's be honest about, even about, going back to the Tebow thing, like, there's no way that this guy, like, is just this good Christian, wholesome, like, bring this dude home to your mama. Like, he was the starting quarterback at Florida. So I'm squashing that now. But, it's one of those things where I just feel like, like you said, he was just, Drew Brees was just very, it's just so, really tone deaf about, about these types of issues. And it's such a stark contrast between, him and whether it's a Matt Ryan or whether it's even an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has, gotten political with it for a long time. Like, even when he became the starting quarterback for the Packers, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has made no bones about where he stands politically. So it's just amazing the fact that, he's had Drew Brees has had all this time to educate himself about these issues, playing in New Orleans for such a long time after he was practically ran out of San Diego, and is one of those issues where he has so many black fans because he plays for the Saints, and I imagine for sure that they definitely had to be disappointed in him. And like you said, all those black players that he has, on his team that has to protect for him. And Jeremy, that's a great point that you said, because football is not just a team sport. It's the team sport. I mean, there's, in some sports, even in other team sports like basketball and baseball, they've been somewhat individualized. But in football, I could care less like how much of a laser rocket arm a la Peyton Manning that you got. If you don't have an offensive line that's willing to say, okay, we're going to protect this guy, then it doesn't matter. Drew Brees might as well be Tim Tebow. So, so he need to watch him. He need to check himself before he wreck himself.
Just think about the guys that'll be chasing him. I mean, like, not only are you the quarterback and the guy with the ball they play, now people have a reason to not like you.
Yeah.
That's got to be a scary proposition with some of these freakish athletic people that play in the NFL, that play the edge position in the NFL. Like, I don't know. It's a poor timing, it's a poor choice of words. Everything we've said, I agree with all of you. So,
What about Jake Fromm?
Wait, hold on. Before we get to that, Martellus Bennett on Aaron Rodgers. You brought up Aaron Rodgers. It's your boy, Eric. Martellus Bennett 3 days ago. He quoted an old story. Rodgers tells me while he doesn't plan on sitting out the anthem, he believes the protests, which he describes as peaceful and respectful, are positive, mentioning that he's had conversations with the new teammate, tight end Martellus Bennett, about the issues they represent. I'm going to stand because that's the way I feel about the flag, but I'm 100% supportive of my teammates and fellow players of who they're choosing that to. They have a battle for racial equality. That's what they're trying to get a conversation started around. Martellus Bennett, he screenshotted that. He said, and he put they in all caps. They have us on some. That's something that they're trying to do. He said, so miss me with the BS. Show me one. I don't want y'all to paint these dudes as white saviors that were always speaking up. It's just not that true. I was there. He said he saw what I went through while protesting in Green Bay, and protesting in Wisconsin is a wild experience. So, he's pretty much just calling out BS on all of these dudes that are speaking up now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think first of all, Martellus, I ride with Martellus. I like him because he's never been shy to say what he's on his own mind, and he was when he was in Green Bay. He did protest and he did speak up about it, and it didn't really seem like a lot of people had his back on that. I think Mason Crosby might have made a comment or two in support, but not really much of the locker room. But Aaron is one. Aaron's one is like, even when he does say something and like he did make that Instagram post, it's cool. I think what Martellus said that already beat Aaron to it was, you guys finally speak up once there's like a safety blanket. So it's easier now for Aaron to speak up because now all these other guys have already shown their face and shown who they are. And now you can come in at the last and be like, all right, whatever the case may be, that's easy to do. That's easier to do than being the first one to do it, because people have asked Tom Brady to say something. He didn't want to be the first one to do it, or Eli Manning or whoever else, and none of them step foot forward. They just watch all the black players get ridiculed, or the defensive guys get ridiculed. And it's like they just wait, and then they say something. It's like, I love Aaron Rodgers, yes, as a player, but he still is at fault for choosing this moment to not actually to say that, but actually not actually. Like years ago, he said he would actually act on it. And to be truthful, I haven't personally seen any action of him when it comes to following the Colin Kaepernick, all of that. He hasn't shown me anything outside of that, out of words. So what Martellus is saying is true. Like, love Aaron, but bro, you're not from fault either, bro. So yeah.
And the transition into the SEC, when I look at the guys who are protesting, this past weekend, they were protesting in Oxford. Lane Kiffin was out there, and Jeremy Pruitt was up there protesting in Knoxville, and even Joel Osteen. I know that's away from the SEC, but I kind of throw him under the same blanket. It just seems very superficial, because it's like, I've never heard, what I'm saying? Like, I never thought of like Lane Kiffin as the Black Lives Matter guy,
Jeremy, I got you. I got to ask you, man. What do you think about your boy Jake Fromm? What he said?
This is the same thing I thought about Drew Brees. It's tone deaf. It was honestly, you know what? I'll take it back, because Jake Fromm's a younger guy, so I can understand him being a little ignorant to this. But I like how he reacted to it once all this came out. He came out immediately, admitted to it, he apologized for it, blah blah blah. And this is the old tweet, old text, I believe, from a young woman. But it also it's a problem with what he said, but then it's also a problem with how she reacted as well. Not because she exposed it I think she should have done this while he was at UGA when it happened. That's my issue with it. It's like, you know, you feel that it's going to ruin him now, so that's why you did it. When in reality, if you'd done this, you would have done more for the cause back then had you said something then, or even checked him about it privately. I don't know. I don't know how I really feel about it. I did not. It makes me feel bad because, like, you know, as a Georgia sports observer and a Georgia fan, you know, it just confirms all the people who wanted Justin Fields as quarterback. You know, it's like you know, it's that, you know, it's like Jake Fromm goes in that category of like the good old boy mentality that goes on at the UGA. That's why a lot of people in Athens don't support the Georgia Bulldogs, because it's got that good old boy feel to it. I'm not gonna lie. So, hearing Fromm say that, it's like, you know, he subscribes to that way of living. So now now I have to, like, I don't know. Like, I can't retroactively go back and say, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to do about this now. I don't know what to do with this information. It's like, and I think moving forward into the NFL, either it'll make him more educated about what he says and how he handles himself, and, you know, actually trying to get to know his teammates, especially seeing what Drew Brees just went through in year 22 of his career. Or you know, he'll actually, you know, earn his teammates' trust back, and, you know, he'll get something out of this as a young player. But I don't know. I mean, definitely have caught the vibe that he, you know, had his guys on the team, just based off how I saw the interactions with players. Davin Bellamy, there was nothing more condemning than what he said. He came out and tweeted that, you know, he was a Jacob Eason guy from the start. That tells me a lot. Jake Fromm took that team that Dalvin Bellamy was on, and they went to a national championship with Jake as the quarterback. And, you know, even a guy that was in that battle with Jake every week, you know, wanted Jacob Eason out there or preferred Jacob Eason. Makes me wonder why. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know I've interviewed Jake a few times, and I know that he's one of those good guys that's like, you know, this is what's scary about the situation, because, you know, he's one of those good guys. Like, you know, you go to him and get great quotes. He looks you in your eye, he shakes your hand. He's really well spoken. Blah blah blah. And this is how he thinks about you behind closed doors. I don't know. That's the really scary thing about this whole situation. It's almost mirror images of Drew Brees, but it's at the beginning of Jake's career, at the end of Drew. So it's really scary.
I'm just waiting for, like, one of these quarterbacks to just, like, tweet it first. I want them to, like, go back and find something that they said that was wildly just whatever the case may be, racist or whatnot, whatever it is tone deaf. I want them to, like, find it and tweet it out first, or put it on social, or just, like, whatever, and then, like, discuss it where they were wrong. Like, I want them to jump out in front of this, because Jake Fromm would never said anything unless that happened, right? This happens all the time, so it's no surprise there. But that's just how it goes. But I just want one of these athletes for once to be like, all right, listen, I said something back in 2009. Let me just, like, get it out there now, and let me discuss it because I was wrong. Just jump out in front of it first. I think, like, if Fromm is not the example of that, or whoever, like, so many examples, but, like, bruh, just learn from these dudes. And because, like, I liked what my boy Burrow said, but it's like, if Burrow said something in the past in high school or whatever, or college, bro, go ahead. Go ahead and jump out and say, I said this back, and I've grown from it. I don't believe in this thoughts anymore. Because, bro, we know what these, like, it sticks with you. When the narrative sticks, it sticks. Everybody, what if all the jokes we've seen the whole week, man, was the boy from the 49ers defensive lineman, man. And bro,
also,
yeah, both the jokes are never going to end, bro, because those tweets are still there. Like, no, never, and they never stop getting funny, because Bosa he never wants to speak on it. But it's like,
McGarry.
say it again.
McGarry.
McGarry, yeah. Oh, yeah, another good old boy. So yeah, those guys are. I mean, obviously they're standing on their ground on what they believe in. Whatever, that's fine. But like, still, we seen the proof of it. So I don't know. That's only my statement I want to make. I think some of these guys should just, if they truly care, that's the thing. If you truly care, then jump out in front of it, acknowledge that I've made comments in the past, and then try to move on from there. Because that's the only advice I can give them. Because Fromm, when he gets in that locker room, and you're not one of the top two guys, I mean, I don't know where he's on the depth chart. It's going to be ugly for you. It's going to be ugly for you.
And that's another one of those things that makes it, so just, like you said with Drew Brees, because, and the thing is about Fromm that, he's going, from UGA to Buffalo, and that's one of the things that also is actually somewhat of a parallel to the Drew Brees situation, because Buffalo is, if I remember correctly, Buffalo is almost 40% black. So, he's going to another portion of the country in, upstate New York, where there's a pretty huge, black fan base. And not only that, but also I was just thinking about this. The Buffalo Bills, where he's going to be playing, they got fans in Toronto too. They got fans in the 6, and they got a lot of, there's a lot of Toronto got a lot of black people up there too. So the Buffalo Bills are one of those teams, like a lot of teams in the NFL that have a huge black fan base, and the Bills are in a unique situation because they got a black fan base in 2 countries. So that's really something that also, that also brought it, full circle for me in many ways. But also I like what you said, E, about what you were saying about about, guys that have these past about them and just say, look, I may have said this, I may have believed this, I may have did this, because, and the easy excuse that they can go ahead and say is, you know what, I'm young. They could automatically say, like, if they thought these things in high school, if they thought these things in college, they could automatically say, hey, look, I was young. I wasn't necessarily all that, informed on the issues, but I've matured, I've grown. And I feel like that if a player were to come out and say something like that, I feel like that would be believable. I feel like that would actually be one of those things that, people would relate to, because, it's just natural that, people become informed about, a lot more of these issues, when they get older. So I think that if more players, were to do that, because there are a lot of players out there that, that probably their views have evolved and their views have changed as they've gotten older. So, and the thing is, in this age, with social media and everything like that, sooner or later, stuff like that it's eventually going to come out one way or another. So, at this point, it's one of those things where, and then, you got people out there that are going to try and find stuff like this anyway on you. So, because that's something that really and truly, even if it's, even if you like a recruit or would be recruit, like, you got, coaches that are literally like scouring your social media thinking like, okay, do I want to recruit this kid? Do I want to recruit this kid? Do I want to recruit that kid? Because he may have somewhat of a questionable character. So I think that it's, it's something where I think it's evolving to a point where I think that more of these guys that are going to come out, if they're going to do this, I think that, just put it out there and, just say, you know what, I was young. I thought these things before, but I don't think these things now. And I feel like that would be a lot more organic, because it would be something where people would think, okay, they're putting this out there right now. They're not necessarily waiting for the right time just because it would look good for somebody's brand or so.
Yeah, I've said some pretty wild things in the past on social media and, and text messages and everything like that. So, I mean, I know if they get discovered before I discover them and delete them and get rid of them, then, I'll be in trouble. But, hey, I don't know. It's, we've gone through this a few times with Josh Hader, and, you see it all the time when guys get drafted, the old tweets come up. So it's still kind of a new thing, with this generation being the first generation to be 12, 13, and, those things are still Twitter's been popular for over 10 years now. Facebook's been popular for about 13 years now. So this is the first generation where they had to kind of like live through, like the people who grew up on MySpace, like MySpace like no longer became a thing after like 5 years. So this is like the first generation where they had to kind of grow up with, having their stuff. So, it's all new to us. We're all figuring this out. So I don't know how to judge the Fromm one because, he did it in the confidence. I don't know if that's the word, in the confidence of text messages. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I be joking kind of wild in the text message just because it's like between us and there's kind of like a mutual understanding of this is a joke or this is sarcasm. So I don't know. There's also that part to it. So like Jeremy said, if Jeremy meant to do and he's a good guy, I don't know. This one I'm not gonna jump on as much as freaking Drew Brees, 40-something years old, 20 years in the league, and they asked him this week, right in the heat of racial tension, and he says the same thing he says 4 years ago. So it's not the same thing to me, but it just gets tricky with some cases because it's like, do you think his apology was genuine or do you think he was just apologizing because he got caught? And I'm like, I don't know. This whole thing is very, very, I don't know-ish.
Yeah, like I said, that's where I'm at with it. I really don't know what to do with this information because I know like you said, it seemed like this was in the confidence or with the understanding that this conversation was between them and it was a joking manner. But if as the person who revealed these texts, if you really were, feeling uncomfortable about this now, like you should have felt that way a year ago to expose him as he was in the middle of a college football world and he didn't have any money. I always cringe when I see somebody post stuff like this when somebody's on the come up because I don't know what your intentions are at this point. Did he say something to you as far as not financially doing something for you? Like, what I'm saying? So that gets tricky also when we start talking about a guy who just came into money, or anyone who just came into money because, why now? This was whatever you feel about this today. It was the case a year ago. I would have felt the same about this a year ago. It's not just because this movement's been going on for decades, centuries. So you should have felt like that. Makes me question whoever this is as well. So I don't know. I don't know what to feel about it.
To this day, Jeremy. To this day.
To this day. Radio.
The thunderstorm comes behind them. We had for too long. To this day. 400 years.
To this day.
That video, boy. Bro, hey, Wilder, you a wild boy. That's it, man. Real quick, him and King back. I'm not the audience. Y'all just go watch the videos. Let me know what y'all think, because I can't. I'm done, man. I can't do this.
The dude, they called him a coon because they were like, he's not funny. And it went from he's not funny to he's a coon. And then so he tried to make up for it by taking off his shirt and misspelling everybody's name. Like, I'm a black man. I have to go to the street. I have to go to the store. I'm a black man. I'm like, I don't know what this has to do with like helping the fight against racial injustice.
Bruh, what are we doing?
I think nobody knows what to do in the country, how to solve this problem. So they're just like,
but that ain't it though. That still ain't it. Yeah,
I can assure you that your little 2-minute skit yelling like this with your shirt off written with marker all over you is going to solve. If anything, it's going to be dangerous because that poison's going to. You didn't learn that when you were a kid, like when you used to write like tattoos.
You're not supposed to do that.
Don't do that. That's going to seep into your blood, and that is not safe. And you're like, dang, all right, thanks, Mom. I now turned 8 years old.
Listen, man.
Yeah, that happens. That happens. Like that definitely happens, man. But sometimes, like I say, sometimes when crazy mess like that happens, sometimes you just gotta just smile and just say, that ill was that ill.
Take that L, man. That's it.
Just about. But yeah, that's that sounds like to me that's dare I say pretty much it, or dare I say that's pretty much it for for us. But yeah, I mean, yeah, lots of stuff going on, definitely. But once again, another episode, dare I say, in the books. We just, like I said, it's a lot going on, but we just trying to maintain and obtain. That's somewhat of one of my new sayings that I got going on here for sure. So yeah, I guess
are we talking about Mikey next week?
Huh?
Are we talking about Mikey next week?
We'll talk about Mikey next week.
Mikey, we're saving Mikey for everybody. We're saving Mikey for next week.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. I guess I completely forgot about that. My bad. It is what it is. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we're sort of a preview of next week, so definitely tune in for that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we've gone just about over an hour, so I guess we might as well just get out of here and do our sign offs if we could, shall we?
Eric Ebo_. I have watched. This is my Rashad impersonation. I have watched the whole time. Lil Yachty whole time video. I've watched about 1,000 times. And I just imagine myself in that video. I love that video. Shout out to Yachty for
that. Jeremy Johnson, Clark _Kent_75. You know what it is. Superman.
RashadMilling.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Renee Montgomery's Water.
Stay in good spirits, by the way, Jeremy. Stay in good spirits for sure, absolutely. King Balaam, Twitter, Graham, Beyond the W, and Prep Girls, South Carolina. Check it out. Till next week, see ya later.
Y'all must thought that I was gone whisper the whole time.
Mistress, diamonds they wear like go fishing. Y'all don't want friends, I want Audis. I don't want cars, I want Rarries.